But I would say that being slow on a decision to go to war is actually a good thing. And if we could also reverse the situation, it took the Japanese bombing Pearl Harbor for the Americans to finally get involved in the Second World War. So the Americans are looking back throughout history selectively. Also, I would say that Pete Hegseth and Donald Trump are bullies, and that's exactly how they're acting. Okay. I want a prime minister of the UK who's going to be a little bit more thoughtful. I thought his comments earlier in the day where he said regime change from the skies is not something we believe in. And historically, it's never worked.
Sure. And I think Dr. Ellie and I would agree that many analysts have said exactly that. It's boots on the ground that makes it happen.
Absolutely. And I think it's also important if we look at what has happened throughout British history, if we just go back to Tony Blair. Tony Blair, the stone that hangs around his neck is, of course, that whole argument that there were weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. And of course, there weren't. And we all know that that was not true. I think Keir Starmer wants to make sure that he does not make that same mistake. It's incredibly important for him to be able to stand on his own. And let's be careful when we say Donald Trump calls this a war. According to the U.S. Constitution, it can't be because Congress has not declared that it is a war. The president has to go to Congress for that to happen, and he hasn't. Sure. So there is a legitimate argument to be made that this is, much like the invasion of Iraq, an unlawful war. So why would the British Prime Minister want to go down that road again, just as somebody did 22 years ago?
So your advice is to wait for his Pearl Harbor?
No, so my advice would be this.
Wait until so many
You
British
can send ships to Cyprus. This is what you could do. Send them, and then they have to stay. You can't get involved. You know, you can't overreact to one drone that was sent to an air base or a military base in Cyprus. You just can't. I mean, I think the Gulf countries are doing a fantastic job of being full of restraint as much as they would like to take on the role of the aggressor. I think it's up to the British, fine, send support, but then you sit and you have to be principled and stick to your guns. And the way the situation is set up now, I don't see that there is a legitimate reason for Keir Starmer to go in or to get involved in this war at this point.